beautiful statue appeared out of thin air in the church, but someone is deliberately imitating his methods to commit murder. This batch of preservatives was all sealed up by the police a few years ago, so the imitator must have some kind of close connection with the artist. In this way, the artist analyzes the photos while drawing. There's something wrong with the wings on this corpse. After hearing this, Amy immediately went to check, because this nail polish was discontinued a few years ago. Amy was still in high school when she last used it. She took photos of the nail polish and brought them to the artist. Asked the murderer why he left this thing behind. But the artist said he didn't know either. I guess there was something in the wings because she did the same thing back then. Amy saw that she didn't look like she was lying and it was easy to give up. While the police were searching hard for clues, the next day someone came to report the crime again. It was said that a body was found on the river. Placed on a small boat, it moves quietly with the water. The body had already been beaten to the shore. He immediately stepped forward to check carefully. Sure enough, clues were found in the corpse's fingernails. The police chief was shocked when he saw it, because his old partner also has an identical one. Maybe it's the same route, but his partner had already died in the hunt for the artist a few years ago. What is the purpose of the murderer deliberately leaving this pointer? Amy also wanted to ask about the details of the case that year, but the police chief remained silent and did not want to say more. I can only keep this detail in my heart silently. The sergeant didn't go home after get off work. He drove all the way to the wild, walked into a deserted alley, and entered a mysterious room. There is a performance going on in the room at this time. The woman randomly pulled an audience member onto the stage. She gently twisted the internet celebrity in her hand. The man's body also began to distort. The next day, the sheriff didn't show anything unusual. He still looks like he is working seriously as usual. Soon, the police station received another report. This time, the corpse was also made into a statue. The surveillance was tampered with by the murderer. No one was photographed at all. There is a compass at the corpse's feet. Take out the pointer you found a few days ago and fire the crossbow. The pointer slowly stopped and pointed to the side. The two of them looked in the direction of the pointer. Found a painting hanging on the wall. The sheriff immediately stepped forward and took it off. What appears in front of you is a string of characters. The two of them looked at each other and couldn't understand what it meant. Helpless, Amy had to go back to prison to ask the artist. But at this time the artist is fast asleep. My hands and feet are still twitching. This is because the artist encountered an accident in his childhood. But it also left such sequelae. Amy immediately asked him what the string of uniforms meant. This time the artist did not ramble. Instead, I told him the answer directly. This uniform is a combination of 3 languages. Translated, it's the address of an antique store. This is a store he frequents. Occasionally sell his works to them. So the imitator most likely bought his paintings. After hearing this, Amy immediately rushed to the target location. But the pair only found a copy of the artist's painting here. Amy was surprised to find a fingerprint left on the painting. But the strange thing is that the owner of the fingerprint is a woman. It doesn't quite fit the police's impression of the murderer. Soon Amy found the woman's home. It looks like this place has been abandoned for a long time. Everywhere is filled with pungent smell. And the person they were looking for turned into a mummy. Judging from the corpse, the woman has been dead for a long time. There are various chemicals everywhere in the room. There are also preservatives used by artists. There is also a photo of the artist and his mother as a child on the counter. Could it be that the owner of this corpse is the artist's mother? The vicious man has been testing preservatives on his mother's body. The two realize that the paintings and fingerprints are false clues left by the artist. His real purpose was to lure the police to this room. Amy angrily returns to prison to confront him, and said that the police's patience has reached its extreme. He said he actually knew who the murderer was, and also knows where to find him, but the condition is that Amy must be his mannequin once. At this moment, Amy has gradually regained her composure. He told the artist this was the last time. Then what awaits him will be the fate of death. Just like this, the artist pinched the statue, while telling stories about his childhood. Don't look at how evil artists are now. He had a very miserable childhood. When I was a child, my mother did not allow the artist to paint. Every time I see him painting, I beat him up. The brain fell heavily to the ground. The artist then spent 3 years in a wheelchair. Amy was a little confused after hearing this. She didn't know what the artist meant by saying this. Just when she was thinking this. In fact, Amy also had a childhood similar to hers. After hearing this, Amy was instantly stressed. She immediately retorted that her parents didn't do this. On the contrary, the father is hurting his own body. She often burns her hands in front of Amy's eyes. This scene became Amy's nightmare. She can never forget this picture. Amy deliberately married a man she hated, even though he said he was getting married for love. But there was a tear shed from the corner of my eye. The artist did not continue talking. Instead, tell the murderer's address, and gave the statue to Amy. Finally, the artist told her meaningfully, Soon the police arrived at the address mentioned by the artist. There was only one ordinary couple in the room. The artist lied to them again. But suddenly Amy remembered what she said before leaving. Then, under the shocked eyes of the police chief, began to destroy the statue crazily. Sure enough, there was a note hidden inside. Above is the real address of the murderer. The two of them immediately drove there. The walls of the room are covered with photos of Amy. The sheriff immediately realized that the murderer's next target might be Amy, so she immediately requested support from the police station. Amy suddenly heard a woman crying from below. Nearby is the entrance to a basement. Amy carefully walked down the stairs, follow the sound and search all the way. I found a woman tied up in chains. Amy just wanted to help her unlock the chains. Suddenly a figure quickly plundered. She shoots subconsciously. Amy forced the opponent into a blind corner. The murderer also gradually revealed his figure. He couldn't believe that the murderer was the same person who had been working with him for several years. Moreover, the tone and words spoken by the police chief at this moment are very strange. It's like another artist is talking to him. The hands holding the pistol began to tremble slightly. I saw the sheriff hiding his figure again. Begins to tell the story of the second half of the artist's childhood. My mother tore up all the books about painting in the house. She had no choice but to sit by the window and draw some of the people and things she saw. Artist looking at portrait of friend. The next second, the soul directly entered the other party's body. While activating this ability, the artist's essence will begin to draw out. So what Amy saw in prison before is the artist activating his own abilities. It was all done by the artist possessing the police sergeant. The so-called copycat criminals don't exist at all. The artist picked up a pistol and wanted to kill Amy. I could only take the first step and shoot the bullet. The moment the artist was shot, his soul also returned to his body. A farce ended with the death of the police chief. Amy became the hero who caught the murderer. She knew that even if she told the truth, Amy found the artist's doctor, with experience from previous events. She recognized immediately that the doctor had been possessed by the artist. Amy asked her why she did these things. Escape from prison is so easy. The artist actually said that he did all this for Amy. After this incident, Amy became the new police chief. This is exactly what she wants to see. Amy suddenly remembered a few nights. My husband always stays up in the middle of the night, already possessed by the artist. Amy couldn't help but feel a little numb. I discovered a habit of hers. So Amy was sent to prison. The two met for the last time. I took a look at my tongue and found that it was covered with toxins. The next second he fell directly to the ground,